Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Abington School Committee meeting. Tonight is Tuesday, April 27th. We're going to change things up a little bit as we are having a school choice participation hearing. So I'm going to open the meeting up at this moment to see if anybody would like to speak on our school choice participation.
So can I take it just for a moment?
Absolutely.
Thank you. So just to tee it up a little bit for the public and for the public hearing, so that people know we're required each year to have a hearing on school choice. And if you don't vote not to be in school choice as a school system in Massachusetts, you're automatically in school choice. Abington has participated in school choice years ago, I think 3-4 years ago, since the construction of the new building and the influx of students. We did at the high school level. Abington has opted not to. There is an email address that was published for the public should they want to email any questions in or any comments in. And if you haven't seen it, when it was published on the agenda, it's School Choice 2021 at abingtonps.org. Again, that is all one word, School Choice 2021 at abingtonps, as in public school.org. Rich will collect the questions and then or the comments and then share them publicly. Tonight, later in the agenda, I will be recommending I have a responsibility to make recommendations to the committee prior to votes. Later in the agenda, this will be something that I'll be asking the committee to consider. My recommendation, so that people know, will be that we do not engage in school choice for this coming school year, simply because with not only the influx of students that we've had across the district, a lot of that's been because of new construction in Abington, which is a good thing, new growth in Abington, but also the number of students that we are retaining instead of going to to get education in other settings, to get their education in other settings. Our numbers are high. We're not overcrowded, but we have in the mid-20s to the upper 20s in our elementary classrooms, and at the secondary level, we do have sections that breach 30, and so we anticipate continued new growth in Abington with new families moving in. So for us to shoulder the new people moving in, along with people who come to us from other communities, would make it difficult for us with basically the number of classrooms we have in our infrastructure. And when you open yourself up for school choice for a certain number of grades, across that grade span, you could get 7 or 8 sixth graders and 0 fifth graders. There's no way of knowing who wants to cross the town line. So it's really about a space issue more than anything else. And that's the rationale that behind the recommendation that I'll be making later tonight in the agenda. And I thought as part of the public hearing, I should get out in front and make the community aware of that. And hopefully that's given anyone who wants to be heard enough time to email us. Mr. Bekowski, do we have anyone who's emailed us who wishes to be heard? I know Rich is there.
Sorry about that.
I had faith.
Mm-hmm.
If you were wondering, there are no email questions.
So it's up to the committee, but that was our obligation for a public hearing. If people want to continue on with the public hearing or go into the regular session, that's at the pleasure of the committee.
Okay. Would anyone like to make a motion to close the public hearing and move on to regular session?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. So at this time, we've ended the school choice meeting. If you have any questions, feel free to please contact Rich. We'll be speaking about it later tonight. And at this time, we're going to stand, if you can, to the Pledge of Allegiance. Thanks. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right. So if anybody can see here, we have a couple of new members tonight. We had election on Saturday. So that brought us Julie Groom and Heidi Hernandez. So thank you for joining us for the next 3 years. I hope it's going to be quiet for you compared to the last 3. So I'd love for you guys to introduce yourselves if you don't mind. Julie, would you like to go first?
Sure. Thank you for the introduction. My name is Julie Groom. I've lived in Abington for just about 20 years with my husband. I have 3 daughters that are all in the high school, twins who are juniors, and another daughter who is a freshman. So, you know, we've been through all the schools, Center School, Burleo, Woodsdale, the high school, you know, all of them, Beaverbrook. So definitely understand each building and its unique challenges. I work full-time as a director of human resources for a small nonprofit that serves individuals with disabilities. So between that and the kids, that's what takes up my time.
Thank you, Julie. Heidi?
Hi, everyone. It's nice to see you all, and it's really an honor to be here. For those of you who don't know me, I am Heidi Hernandez. I am the proud mother of also 3 girls who are currently in grades 4, 6, and 8. I am a product of Abington Public Schools, and I actually started my teaching career here in Abington Public Schools before going to international schools and elsewhere. And many of you might know me now as the lady who works at the library. So I'm very familiar with being a parent of school children. I've done everything from the fluoride program to running book fairs. I know what it's like to be on the side of the teacher's desk, and I also understand just what it means to be a community member who values strong schools and really solid education. So I am 100% terrified right now, and I will endeavor not to flip myself backwards in my chair because I have a habit of doing things like that in public venues. But truly, I am just really excited to work with you all right now.
Thank you both. We're very happy to have you. Thank you for volunteering your time. At this time, we're going to see if we have any hearing of visitors. Anyone out here? Okay. So we're going to go to the reading and approval of records from March 23rd, 2021. If when you're ready, someone can make a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. And then the next one is the March 11th meeting minutes. If somebody would like to make a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
I'll
I'll
second it. Sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So next up, we have the principal report with Jonathan Bourne.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with everyone tonight. My first order of business is actually a great honor to announce the recipient of this year's Massachusetts Association of School Superintendent Awards for Academic Excellence. This award is given to the high school student who has distinguished themselves in the pursuit of excellence during their high school career. Very happy to announce that this year's recipient is Emily Colsey. Emily has demonstrated leadership and school spirit by participating in a variety of sports and activities throughout Abington High School, which include varsity soccer and lacrosse, the anti-bullying club, peer leaders, school newspaper, student athletic advisory council, and the National Honor Society, where I had a chance to meet her. In addition to the various activities and sports, it is very important to note that Emily volunteered with facilitating our school's unified soccer team. Emily is a serenely confident leader who does the right thing when no one is looking. She's humble and respectful and dedicates time to improving her community and to pursuing her academics. Emily is kind to her friends, classmates, and strangers, and she fully embodies the mindsets and dispositions outlined in our vision of the graduate. Emily, congratulations. I'm honored to have the opportunity to announce you as the recipient of this award.
Thank you, Mr. Moore, for those kind words. I appreciate it.
So Emily, unless you want to say a few words. I'm serious. I mean, you can. I mean, you know, he said all those nice things about you. I'm sure you could maybe tell us what are your plans for next year?
I am currently planning on studying nursing. I'm leaning towards UMass Amherst, I think, to attend, and I'm hoping to stay, in New England and eventually become a pediatric nurse practitioner, hopefully.
Well, I feel pretty good about bringing my kids to you. So, I know you'll continue to make us proud. And I have this for you. We'll send it to you. This is normally when we get a nice picture. You know, I'm not even gonna do a selfie because that's not gonna work. You know, under different circumstances, I'd get to shake your hand and, you know, meet your family and give you one of these, but we'll still send this along to you, and congratulations.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Emily, good for you. Congratulations. That's very impressive.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Emily.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now go study. I'm just
And like I said, a good head on her shoulders, she chose UMass. So that's about all you need to know. So the next item I have is an update on end of year senior activities. I want to just share, and I know this committee has been great about getting updates that we are hard at work. We haven't quite yet been at the place to say ta-da to the community. Here we are, but pending this meeting tonight, tomorrow morning, we do aim to send a letter out to our senior parents with details about some senior class events. So let me kind of do my bit, and then obviously if there's questions or follow-up, I'd be happy to entertain them afterwards. So in no particular order, and I think what's important too, I wanted to share with this group that if anyone misses tonight's school committee meeting, we are going to hold an information session for parents. We're going to send a link out in the letter on Thursday, April 29th from 6 to 6:30. We'd like to go a little longer, but the screening of working is happening Thursday evening, and we don't want to step on that important event either. And also, the high school is doing a screening of working Thursday, the 29th, and tickets are still available. So I think the big item is that we were able to do a senior class prom or reception that we've cutely titled the Promception. We were waiting for a few weeks from direction from DESE, who functionally just said they don't have any specific direction and just please used the state's guidance on outdoor activities for venue halls. And so one of the things we will be doing is capitalizing on being outside, and the prom/reception will be held on Riley Field on Thursday, June 3rd. And I'll talk about the intentionality behind the dates of these events. So the promception will be Thursday, June 3rd from 7 to 10. Students will be able to, it's exclusively for the class of 2021. And that is just honestly to keep the numbers down below the 150 participants that's set by the state. There are 153 members of the senior class. Not all seniors typically attend an event like this in any year. So we're expecting to be under that 150.
I think by then it will be 200.
As of, I
Just
just
an
checked,
FYI.
yep, and I just checked the website moments before coming on, and as of right now, it's 150. Regardless, great, because then if all 153 students want to do it, we're on board.
Right.
We will ask parents to do an attestation form that day to just, it's something that you may have seen from other districts or settings. Does your student, son or daughter, have fever, cough, runny nose, etc.? And then we will do some brief screening with students to conversational. How are you feeling? How's everything going? Students will be asked to wear masks as long as is possible, except while eating. There'll be assigned seats. So we have contact tracing. We had a great conversation with the Board of Health, who felt comfortable in my work. And again, Sarah Lapointe, one of our school nurses, who's been great about these events. We did decide to hold it on Riley Field on Thursday. All these events, we are hoping are rain or shine, but if we get like sideways rain, it's going to be very difficult and undesirable, frankly, to do an outside event, especially when everyone's in fancy clothes. So we do have some flexibility in the case of rain to move a prom session to Friday, June 4th, if needed, but we're all hoping for really cooperative weather that day. After the prom on Thursday, our next scheduled event is the Senior Class Awards, or Class Day, on Friday, June 4th from 6 to 7:30. That will be on the front lawn of the high school. We'll set the front lawn up for graduation like we did last August, with each recipient being invited to bring 2 family members to sit with them. And that event will occur from 6 to 7:30 on Friday. If there is a rain event on Thursday that moves the prom, we will move Class Day to earlier in the day and try to hold it inside, which we have some capacity to do presently, up to 100 members. The next will be graduation on Saturday, June 5th at 10 a.m. with a rain date of June 6th on Sunday. It will be the same setup as we did last August. Each graduating student will be allowed to bring up to 2 family members. And we will live broadcast this event by Abington Cam for family members to watch from home that aren't able to come. One of the things that we were very intentional about with the timing of this, and we were able to work one small senior kind of boost to their year, is that based on progress reports, which come out on Friday, May 21st for quarter 4, students that are in good standing, their last full day of required attendance will be Wednesday, May 26th. Thursday, May 27th is a day of school, but that's for students who need to make up missed work or make appointments with teachers. And the design of this is specific in the sense that if someone is a close contact to a student at school for whatever reason, if they were to test negative, they would be eligible to participate in the prom, in the class awards, and the graduation. We were very deliberate in making sure that we were doing everything we could to make sure as many seniors that wanted to do the senior class events were fully eligible from any contact tracing or quarantine requirements. Sorry, my dog's saying hi to the neighborhood bunnies. Hold on. There we go. So that was some of the reasons behind that. We have a variety of other events that we're going to push out to parents as well. And for parents listening at home, for the seniors and parents, we do need some help. We are looking at to do some events during the day during our bridge blocks. So what the senior class officers would like to do is have an ice cream stand on Monday, May 10th. On Wednesday, May 12th, they're thinking of a senior rally or a pep rally, but an outdoor fun activity. Something like a field day, Friday, May 14th. Thursday, May 20th, the senior breakfast and yearbook signing. And Wednesday, May 26th, senior cookout and car decorating. One of the things we were able to do in lieu of a full go around town visit every school parade is to do the parade where they're able to loop around Glenowitz Boulevard a few times before they leave for the day. The students obviously had hope for more, but honestly, just with time logistics, we weren't able to offer that this year. So all of those dates, all that information is going to be contained in a letter that gets sent out to families tomorrow morning. And we have that follow-up Thursday evening for people that have questions or want to ask more about how to volunteer or other ways that they can help out.
Awesome. Anyone have questions about that?
No, just a profound thank you for all of the activities that you are planning for these kids that are so deserving of something fun and positive after the year that they've been through that started last March. So my heart is so happy hearing this. So thank you.
Well, I'd love to take the credit, but honestly, it's the senior class officers. Emily Colsey is one, I think. No, she's not. Sorry, Emily. She's a National Honor Society officer. She's still very helpful. And Matt Cutter, the senior class officer, they've been really the motor behind this. They've done a tremendous amount of work and legwork. So, and I think too, they've gotten a few like comments of what's going on, not seeing anything come to fruition. And I will absolutely vouch for the fact that all of them have been working incredibly hard this whole year, and anything that all of these events are theirs. Their ideas, they're doing the legwork, they're picking up the phone and calling vendors. So it's a hats off to them, but thank you, Danielle. I will certainly pass that along to them when I see them.
Awesome.
If I could, to your whole team, including you though, Jonathan and Jesse, because every sentence that you gave, I know that there was about 10 hours of planning in terms of the weeds and the level of detail that's required, especially during a pandemic. So.
Well, thank you. And I think one of the things that's great about working here, Peter, and I said this earlier, is things just work out. People are cooperative. Peter's easy to reach. Felicia's a great, person to contact with. Jason Lynn is outstanding. Jamie Howie at the high school. Everyone you pick up and call, Marty Golightly, Sarah LaPointe, how can I help? How can I help? So it's a great town. And honestly, the folks that work here and live here made it easy. So thank you.
Jonathan, Peter, I guess either one of you, does today's announcement by the governor change? Like, I guess it seems like schools sometimes have a different rule than general public announcements. I didn't know I know there could be more announcements between now and June 3rd, but does the announcements today with certain dates change any criteria or threshold for the events that maybe you plan them under a certain set of circumstances, but they may have changed today?
I'll let Jonathan answer. A lot of that information is very fresh, and I don't know that it has changed much of what we've been planning. I haven't come across anything from what I saw in the news tonight. That doesn't mean that it's not in there as we unpack it.
Yeah, Chris, I frankly haven't seen any guidance directly from the again, I just haven't had the opportunity. But I do think a lot of the dates and constraints around the planning are also things like just availability, flexibility, right? What we can logistically deliver, not exciting stuff, right? But what we can logistically deliver on our timelines.
I think, Jonathan, the one I'm getting at, is as of the end of the week, there's kind of like a mask mandate lifted on outdoor things if you're outdoors. That's the one I'm getting at. I didn't know if that changes anything or if on school grounds it's still certain criteria that's TBD anyway at this point.
We've looked at during the school day. It doesn't really change anything during the school day.
Okay.
At other events, we'd have to take a look at that, but
okay.
Before we go too far.
Okay.
Thank you, Jonathan. We appreciate everything that you just told us.
Thank you.
So next on the agenda, we have an update on their summer school planning with Dr. Fedorowicz and Dr. Robbins.
All right, so Sherry and I talked beforehand, and I'm gonna be leading us off. So bear with me for a moment, just because I'm gonna share my screen. We've both prepared separate PowerPoints. All right. So I'll be talking about the extended school year program that we run over the summer. And the extended school year program is a program that is designed specifically for students with disabilities. When we refer to the Abington-based program, it spans grades the grades pre-K through grade 8. But there are students in grades 9 and beyond, up to grade 12, and for those students who stay with us until their 22nd birthday. who do participate in special education services over the summer. It's just that we actually don't, it's that we contract with other organizations for their services, because there are a lot of just very well-developed programs for students of that age in our community, in our surrounding community. The Bridge Center in Bridgewater, an example. The community-based vocational program that North River runs is an example. So the program that we run in district is for students pre-K through 8. So this applies to all of them. So first, I just for folks who don't know, I just want to give a very quick summary of what the purpose of the program is. And it's to serve students with disabilities whose disability predisposed them to regression. In other words, who, because of their disability, are likely to lose the skills that they had learned during the year. So the idea is that we run this program in order to help these students maintain their skills so that when they return to school in late August, they require less reteaching and review and are in a better position to engage like grade level standards. So that's the big idea behind the extended school year program for students with disabilities. And just in case you're curious as to who is eligible for the extended school year program, I have a few notes on that. It is intended for students with disabilities who have IEPs. Not all students with disabilities have IEPs. And not all IEPs include extended school year. So the idea is that each IEP team considers that student's eligibility for extended school year services. And this is a topic that's reviewed each year to make sure that all the students who need the services are getting them. Also, because it's a special education service, the guidelines surrounding who ought to participate is spelled out clearly from at the state level and at the federal level. So I kind of mentioned this earlier, but the idea is it's designed for students who have demonstrated skill regression over periods of time without schooling. So the way we figure this out is we look at students who lose skills over our short breaks, such as April vacation and February vacation. And some students, just by the severity of their disability, we kind of know instinctively that they'd be vulnerable to regression. So it's so it is for a small segment of students with disabilities that we have this program. Some other quick notes. The schedule. So right now we're planning it for 4 weeks in July. So it starts July 6th and runs through July 29th. The schedule you use is it's the 4 weeks in July after the July 4th holiday. July 5th is the observed holiday, which is a Monday. So we're gonna start it on Tuesday of that week of July 6th. Typically, we'll be using a Monday through Thursday schedule. So the 4 weeks in July, Monday through Thursday, with the exception of the first week, which will run Tuesday through Friday. So that means there's one Friday session on July 9th. I know it's a little complicated, so it's 4 weeks, 16 days, and the schedule is 8:30 to 12:15. This will take place at 201 Glenowitz Way, which is a change because just at least over the past several years, it had been run at the Beaverbrook. But we're excited about this opportunity. It'll allow the preschool program to make use of the resources it uses on a day-to-day basis. And there's so much, new resources and materials and so on at the 201 complex. We think it'll be a nice match for us. I should mention that we do have a small cohort of students who participate in, who in combination with the ESY program in Abington also participate in the Eager Beaver program. So these students require a bit more supervision to develop mature social skills. And I've connected with the director of that program, and that program will also be available to our students this year. So if you're a parent who's listening, whose child typically participates in the Eager Beaver portion, that will also be available to you. Just some other quick notes. And this is and so I would say that this slide isn't the definitive account, because what I'm about to talk about is the arrangements we'll have in place to, the precautions we'll have in place to respond to COVID-19. But I'll mention, going into last school year, last summer, the DESE provided very extensive guidelines about how schools ought to operate to be safe in the time of COVID. And we are expecting that DESE will similarly provide guidance this year as well. So some of what I'm about to say could be adjusted, but we'll be responsive to DESE's guidance. But first, DESE's already been clear about this part. Our program is primarily an in-person program. So the idea is our default, and what we're assuming is that all of our students will be participating in person. However, remote services will be available to students who require them. The idea is that this is available for students who require them based on like either they themselves are medically compromised or someone in their immediate family is medically compromised. It's not to cater to families who may be on vacation or things like that. The idea is that it's really just based on medical need. The majority of students will be participating in person, but we will have this remote option available. And we going into the summer, we're assuming we'll have all the typical universal precautions in place. Staff and students with illness will be asked to stay home when presenting with symptoms. Staff and students will be asked to wear masks. Social distancing will be in place. We'll review appropriate hygiene and sanitation. But kind of as Chris Coyle's question got to earlier, there are some questions about that because guidance continues to be coming out. So we'll just respond to it when it comes. But right now we assume all those universal precautions will be in place. So what's next? If you're a family whose child participates in the extended school year program, here's what to expect. Next week, we'll be sending you an electronic questionnaire. It'll arrive to you at some point between May 3rd and May 7th. We'll also send out a constant contact, so you'll know to be on the lookout for this electronic questionnaire. And what we're asking of you is two things. One of which is to let us know if you intend to enroll your child in the ESY this summer. This is just really helpful information for us so that we can staff appropriately. Since the students who participate in this program are vulnerable, we want to make sure that we have appropriate staffing in place. So it's best if we have, a month and a half to be able to undertake that work. And then secondly, for those families who do require remote services, we'll ask you to indicate that through this questionnaire. And this also just gives us lead time to identify an appropriate number of staff who can provide those services remotely, because we'll need staff to provide both remote services and staff to provide in-person services. So that questionnaire will be coming out next week. There'll also be an accompanying constant contact to remind you. And we hope to get your input to help our planning. So that's all the information about the special education extended school year program that we offer pre-K to 8. I'm about to turn it over to Sherry, who's going to explain our secondary summer program. But are there any questions I can take at the moment?
James, I can ask you now, or I can ask you after Sherry goes. So what makes what's easier? I
don't know. It almost seems better now because we can just take the topic and then switch.
So it goes towards the eligibility.
Sure.
I know there are guidelines to follow, and I know they're set up, but we know we're all living in a year where there's probably a lot more kids that could use the help than ever before. And maybe it's a matter of, I don't know, either the IEP teams looking at their IEPs and adding this in before it becomes things, so that's how they get it. Or I don't know if it comes to talking with the parent and creating an IEP, if that's actually, and maybe you tell me, is it possible? I guess the first thing would be, is it possible to get kids in without an IEP if they've demonstrated that they could really benefit from this? And if not, if you do have to have an IEP, if that is required, is it something that IEP teams can work with parents and maybe create one, even if it, forgive me, if it's like I don't want to say temporary, but the ability to get them in if they need it and to help them get on the right track when hopefully come next September, we're in a much better place, all of us.
Right. Yeah, Chris, I got your question. And thank you for raising it. So the first, so I'll go part by part, and then just let me know if I haven't addressed anything or my answer raises additional questions.
Yeah, it was a run-on question.
is this available to students without disabilities? So we're going to hear from Sherry in a sec, because we do have some programming available for students without disabilities to just respond to the regression we expect for most students due to the really challenging year we had. So we'll hear from Sherry on that. What I would say for this program, though, is that this program really caters to the most vulnerable. So the idea of adding additional folks to it, in the process, perhaps diluting some of the quality might just, which I don't think you were suggesting, but I just think could be a possible byproduct of that, would be something that I would recommend to get against pursuing, which is just, let's keep the integrity of this program for the most vulnerable. But with that said, but to kind of get to the spirit of something you were saying, which is just that, we've all been hard hit by this, including students who might not classically have extended school year, perhaps students with disabilities who we wouldn't typically see as experiencing regression. So what I can say is that we do anticipate a larger number of students participating this year, because all IEP teams are tasked with just reviewing the impacts of COVID on their students and just identifying any additional supports that are needed. So I know that there are cases in all buildings throughout the district where there are students who are participating in ESY who wouldn't have typically. So I would say just the number that we're servicing through this program is greater, but I would recommend that we continue to just focus on the students with disabilities to maintain quality control. But like I said, Sherry's got another program running that will respond to some of that.
And yeah, and maybe I can wait till after. But so Sherry, I glanced at your at the packet, and it looked like it was only grades 7 through 12, and I think that's why I asked the question now, with grades pre-K through 6 more in mind in that aspect of it. But James, I think you helped answer the question as well. So
I have a question for James as well. Okay. Given you already answered, well, one of the questions for me was going to be, do you think we will see an uptick? I believe we will. Normally, a certain percentage of ESY invites go out. A number of kids don't show up. I think this year more of them will. Are we keeping to a certain ratio, or are we just going to be seeing larger class sizes for those kids this summer than normal?
Oh, so thank you for the question. So something that helps out is that the decision on that topic is actually not ours to make, because that's actually required by state and federal special education regulations. So because this is a special education program, we cannot exceed a ratio of 8 students to 1 teacher. Each time we do, we have to add a paraprofessional. So suppose you had 8 students with disabilities in a classroom, and you moved to with a teacher, and you move to 9, then you automatically have to introduce a paraprofessional, because that's just what the regulations say. And then once you hit 12 students, you have to add an additional paraprofessional per the regulations. And then those groupings cannot exceed 16. So we'll absolutely adhere to those regulations. And then also, because in some of these kids, in some of those, in some scenarios, you may listen to the data I just gave you and think in your mind of preschool students. You might, whoa. Are you suggesting that like eight preschool students with severe needs might be at a ratio of 1 teacher to 8 students? And I would say that's not the case. We'll absolutely be very careful in our staffing, as we've been historically, just because the idea is that we know we're dealing with our most vulnerable here, and we want this to be like a harmonious, calm, effective, productive experience to help our students out, because these are the students who are vulnerable to regression, and we want to get them so as the least amount of reteaching and review is necessary when they arrive in August, because otherwise it'll make it more challenging for all staff when we get back in August. Yeah, I feel like I've been giving kind of a long response here, but what I would say is just we'll be very mindful, and we have those state and federal regulations, but we'll also be mindful of staffing to make sure it's a well-managed scenario.
Thank you.
Yep. So if there aren't any other questions, what I'll do now is I'll stop sharing my screen and I'll turn it over to Sherry to explain her section.
Thanks, James. Just give me a minute here to grab my screen.
Okay. All right. Can everybody see the PowerPoint?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So good evening, everyone. Welcome aboard, Heidi and Julie. Nice to have you here. Tonight, I'm going to provide an overview on the Secondary Credit Recovery Summer School Green Wave Academy. And this summer, what we're doing is we're offering summer school to eligible students at the secondary level, grades 7 through 12, that have received a final grade of F in 2 or more subject areas. So the purpose of offering the Credit Recovery Summer School Green Wave Academy is to provide students with an opportunity to actually recover credits and learning losses due to the pandemic. So summer school this summer is free of charge and will provide transportation with designated pickup areas to go to the middle high school campus. So it'll be at 201 Glenowitz also. And in addition, the students will be given snacks and food like a lunch while they will be attending summer school. Again, it's open for students in grades 7 through 12 that received a final grade of F in 2 or more subject areas. And after successful completion of the summer school program, the failing grades will be overwritten with a passing grade for the 2021 school year, and the transcript will also be updated. So we anticipate very similar dates to the SY program. We're going to be Monday through Thursday, starting July 6th through should actually be July 29th because it'll be Thursday, from 8:45 a.m. to 1 p.m. And again, the only exception will be that first week in July since there's a holiday. So instead of going Monday through Thursday, we'll actually go Tuesday through Friday. And students will be there the entire time from 8:45 to 1 p.m. For middle school, we're going to be offering academic core courses that will be in integrated math and science, and also an integrated ELA and social sciences for both the grade 7 and the grade 8. We're also going to have an additional engagement piece, besides the snacks, of course, that the kids love, in terms of wellness activities, kinesthetics, social emotional activities. So summer school is going to be all in person rather than anything being online. And this is a really good opportunity for the kids to be engaged and have really good engaging experiences for our students. At the high school level, the students will partake in 3 different core courses or academic courses, in addition to the integrated social, emotional, kinesthetic, and wellness activities like we're doing at the middle school. So during summer school, the principals, Mr. Bourne and Mrs. Clements, are really honing in on Vision of the Graduate, which focuses basically on bouncing back from the setbacks and using reflection and feedback from others to improve oneself. So as you look at this slide, you'll see the Vision of the Graduate, or the VOG indicator, which is associated with each course. So the high school core courses will be making sense of problems in math, understanding perspectives and culture through literacy, and interdisciplinary learning. So we do realize that Summer School Green Wave Academy is not like a one-shot deal that solves all the pandemic issues and the learning loss all in one summer, but really it's geared toward a piece of learning loss and credit recovery at the secondary level. We're looking at working on some long-term plans all the time, continuously, to support our students going forward and continuing into the next year. So that's all I have on that. Any questions?
Just a comment. Again, I feel like I'm full of appreciation tonight for everything, but just as a secondary teacher, so many kids didn't have passing marks this year because of the unique situation of having to bear all that responsibility on their own at home for a good part of it. So I'm just really happy to see that they have that chance to fix those grades and then move on, because if the year had been normal, that would not have been the situation.
So if I could, I just want to highlight something that Sherry said, and that was that this is really just the beginning. Both programs are going to take our more vulnerable students that we want to come back in September, and forget there was ever a pandemic, full steam. Like we know the way that schools should be. We recognize that there are students that are going to come, all of our students are going to be in different places. Some of our students are going to be further behind than the rest of the population. And so this is the beginning to at least try to get them, build them up, because to come back and have multiple Fs at the secondary level and feel like you've already been defeated before we even start a school year is not the way we want our kids to start. With learning regression, with our most vulnerable students with special needs, to try to build and shore up whatever skills and areas of development that we can. So, you know, you're hearing about programs with a food service component, with a transportation component, with a movement component. So it's not your traditional summer school. It's a stronger program. And, you know, similarly, so while planning things like promceptions, graduations, and then a full return for all the students, which just, oh, by the way, just happened over the last couple of weeks. I just want to thank everybody that's been working so hard to also develop these strong summer programs, all at the same time. So.
Thank you, everyone. Any other questions? Thank you. Sherry, you have more to tell us?
Moving on to the next, Chester Millette.
Yes, please.
Okay, great. So just kind of a brief background for everybody. The Chester Millette Junior Award is presented to a teacher and an educational support person who, by his or her performances, has basically demonstrated a willingness to assume responsibilities and to perform deeds that are well above and beyond those that are normally expected. And so this year we had some updates with the help of our school committee member, Danielle Grafton. Thank you very much, because our numbers jumped significantly. So Chester Millette absolutely blossomed this year. So thank you, Danielle, for a lot of your suggestions and thoughts on moving it online. So we actually received 170 nomination entries for 18 educational support personnel and 71 teachers. And since it's super top secret until Teacher Appreciation Day next week, I'm not able to announce any of the winners yet for the award. And I just especially want to thank the committee for their time. Going through 170 nominations for volunteers was quite a bit. And I appreciate the commitment and the time. We had really great parents on there. We had representation from AEA, and Jesse was also able to join us as well. So thank you very much. And I'm very excited to let everybody know next week.
That's awesome. Thank you very much, Sherry. And great job, Danielle, putting that through to go online. Peter?
Sure. So that's awesome. So 89 people in total were nominated.
Yes.
And if I remember, they find out that like they get their, like they know they were nominated, right?
Yes. So each teacher and educational support personnel will receive the actual nominations that people sent for them.
Great.
Peter, were you going to say something?
Unrelated to Chet Millette, so I don't want to be off topic. I had another thought about the summer school piece. I'm so sorry.
Here we are.
Okay, so I just want to make sure people are also aware that it's been difficult for kids to play musical instruments during the pandemic because you've got to have these, you know, expanded barriers because you're blowing through an instrument. So there will also be a music program over the summer at 201 Glenowitz. And there will also be sports activities going on at 201 Glenowitz. So it's going to be a very busy campus. I don't know if you're aware, but the Beaverbrook and the Woodsdale both have wiring projects or projects that involve wiring going on over the summer. And so that's why everything's going to be at 201 Glenowitz. And if you haven't picked up on it already, we call it 201 Glenowitz because it's easier than saying the Abington Middle High School Abington Early Education Program.
Mhm.
So there's a lot going on this summer.
That's definitely good news. Thank you, everyone, for that. We appreciate it. So now we're moving on to the report of the superintendent of schools.
I haven't talked enough already, right? So I should probably just go through these, but then I have two quick add-ons at the end, if I could, just more informational items. So I'll just start with the brief explanation for the community about the Unit A and the Unit B extension. The members of the negotiation subcommittee that were serving on the school committee spent quite a number of hours with the Abington Education Association leadership and negotiation team, and we appreciate that. These are two basically one-year bridge agreements because the last year of the three-year agreement ends at the end of the school year. And so this will buy us another year to have further discussion about future collective bargaining with both groups. Then just last night, this committee met to review this information prior to tonight. So some time has been spent on this. I appreciate the time that people have given to this. And an overview of both of these agreements are that in the Unit A, which is our teacher group, will receive a cost of living adjustment, a COLA of a 2% increase across the salary accounts and the appendices in the contract. And the Unit B, upon the school committee's approval, would receive a 2% also COLA with an additional 1% on the top step for members of that group. And those members are our paraprofessionals, our tutors, and our administrative assistants. And then also there are additional in that agreement stipended positions that have been increased in different increments. And so in your packet and in the public packet is a copy of that memorandum of agreement for both groups. Felicia and I are here to answer any questions that people may have at this point. But again, I know that we spent some time, just want the community to know that this committee spent some time on it last night in an executive session. I want to answer any questions that people have and ask that the association members have already ratified this. And so pending your consideration, this would go into effect for the coming fiscal year.
Peter, if I may, just so we can have this public knowledge as I did in executive session last night, just to let everyone know, having family members that are within the Unit B structure, to avoid any conflict of interest, I have recused myself from any of those discussions, and I will abstain from voting on anything having to do with the Unit B.
Wendy and Peter, with that said, should we split up voting Unit A and Unit B so Heidi can participate in Unit A?
I think it's best to split them up anyway.
Okay.
Because they're two different agreements.
Yeah.
It probably wouldn't matter, but why not be very deliberative in what we're doing?
And I think the only thing I wanted to, it wasn't a question, but just so people are aware, their contract was expiring in this coming August. So with everything else that's going on, there was no new 3-year contract discussed. This is more extending their contract. So now it expires, I'm gonna get the years wrong, August 2022?
Yes.
Felicia's nodding, so I'm going with it.
Yeah,
Is it July?
August 31st.
Okay.
All right. So we did spend a lot of time on it last night. I don't think that there is any other questions, but there are any other questions? No. So I guess I can ask for a motion to approve the Unit A as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve Unit A as presented.
And I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And next we will, can I ask for a motion to approve Unit B as presented?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And Teresa, that would be abstain from one. Perfect. Thank you all. Peter?
So, sorry.
Nope.
The next item I have is the consideration for participation in the school choice program. Certainly answer any questions people have. Again, I don't recommend that we participate in it in the coming year. Every year we get the opportunity to reconsider that. Want to answer any questions or ask the committee to consider this question when it's ready.
I mean, with the numbers we have in town of residents, I don't think it's a feasible idea to enter into.
I agree, Chris. If nobody has anything to say about it, Peter, would we do like a roll call or just ask?
You can just up and down, give it an up down vote, similar to the previous ones.
Okay. So would anyone like to make a motion to not
opt out?
Okay, opt out. Thank you. Opt out of the school choice program for the 2021-2022 school year.
I'll make it. Okay. I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
So the next thing I have for the committee is a request to establish Thursday, June 17th as the last day of school. I mean, unless we get any, tropical downpours, I think it's safe at this point to establish that as our last day of school. And unfortunately this year, even when we did have inclement weather, as long as we had power, we were able to have school days. So we don't need to spend any more time talking about that, right?
No, thanks. Okay, so would anyone like to make a motion to set Thursday, June 17th, 2021 as the final day of school for the 2020-21 school year?
I will make that motion to set Thursday, June 17th as the final day for the 2021 school year.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
So the next item, the school calendar for the next year. This has been looked over quite a bit. I don't need to ask the committee to vote on it tonight, but at our next meeting, it is something I'm going to ask you if you would consider so that we can get this information out to our families, at least by May, so that people can make whatever plans and arrangements they want to make in advance. But I also want to answer any questions people might have, either tonight or at any point, before the next meeting. So.
Just wondering if we are continuing with no snow days unless there's no power for next year.
I'm gonna guess that we're gonna go back to the traditional snow day when there's when people can't come to school. I don't know that for sure. I don't know that we're gonna have a choice. And the reason that I say that is because the blizzard bags used to be something that they tried in Massachusetts that really got shot down, because not all school systems are able to provide the same level of education when that occurs. So as a state, it made sense for us to make up those days. I think that's a TBD, and this is just my crystal ball on what I'm guessing is going to happen.
Thank you.
I have one more question. I know in the past, in years past, the request had been made that we try to keep half days on a similar day so that parents could plan for it. It does look like we've gone back to scattered days. Is there a reason? Is it so that kids aren't missing the same specials, or is it just this is kind of how it fell?
So it is specials, but it's also special education services. And we tried to do that. And the problem is, and I'll let the principals correct me or dive deeper if I get it wrong. The problem is that there are certain scheduled special education interventions, programs, requirements in a student's week that are set on a Monday through Friday schedule. And when you have a consistent day, you are rescheduling those people who are already, as if you can and where you can, who are already booked to provide those special education services. And so you are right, it was the specials, but it's probably more the special education grids and services than the specials.
I'm married to a related services provider. He thanks you for that.
I have a question as the mother of 3 high schoolers. The burning question is, will Wave Week be back?
Mr. Bourne, can you help me?
That's actually a very topical question because it's something I needed to follow up with you about, Superintendent Schaefer. It's very much the interest of the high school to bring that back, but I didn't know that I could command the power to have kids start late on Wednesday without talking to you. So.
I am not anti-Wave Week Wednesday. I think we should just probably talk about it. It sounds like it's something that people want to do. Want to take a step back and look at it with Principal Bourne before I commit to it, because I don't want to lie to you.
Thanks.
It's a great question. Obviously, it was so good we don't have an answer.
All right, great. And Peter, do you want to discuss the reason why we are meeting on?
Yes, please. That was one of the 2 add-ons. I'm just making a note that we have to talk about Wave Week Wednesday. So the first add-on is there have been some questions about why are we meeting remotely when all of the kids are meeting in person. Basically, I've heard from both the committee and other people in the public about just being able to understand and hear what's going on during our meetings. Wearing masks on the stage, distanced so far apart, we were having trouble hearing each other, and it was negatively impacting the ability to have a thoughtful conversation about some of the important things that are deliberated. And then we also heard from community members that it was difficult to hear what people were saying at different times. And this is really more about getting information out there than anything else, because to be honest with you, in a lot of ways, it's a lot easier to meet in person. It's not that this group, I don't think, is not willing to meet in person. So full disclosure, I thought we should put that out there. Can I give you another add-on? So just recently, we were able to go to a within 3 feet quarantine standard, where previously it was within 6 feet for a quarantine standard. So let me just isolate and be specific about the change. This change from within 6 feet to within 3 feet means that previously students that were within 6 feet who were in close contact to someone who identified as positive for COVID were quarantined. Now, someone who is within 3 feet of someone who identifies as positive for COVID is quarantined. The people that are within 6 feet are still close contacts. We'll still be sending information home to people based on the email address that they gave us on their basic information sheets. about monitoring. The reason for this change, and this also is taking place on the school buses. Basically, this is taking place in classrooms and school buses in areas where students are seated and masked. And all other requirements that have been in place over the months are still in place. We were, to be quite honest with you, at about 4 feet in many of our rooms, in most of our rooms before, and we've seen very limited school spread of COVID. They have not been in the classrooms and the places and the conditions where people have been at 4 feet and wearing masks. More people are getting vaccinated. And again, full disclosure, this is the recommendation that's been provided by the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education through their work with the different health agencies. And throughout the pandemic, we've taken the position that we're going to follow the rules. And that's really probably the best way for me to end this add-on. That I appreciate your patience in me giving this add-on. And that is ending with, we need to follow the rules. So we are following the rules by going to this inside of 3 foot standard for individuals that would be quarantined. You know, over this last year, we've at different times we've had hundreds of people quarantined, and again, they haven't identified as positives as a result of those close contacts. So I do think this is a move that we can make, but following the rules is important. We really need to wear masks, practice hygiene, because that's what's made this possible. So as much as we don't have to wear the masks outside as citizens under certain conditions, we are going and following the rules to going to the inside the 3 foot standard. They'll be less disruptive for our families, but that's because we are adhering to that mask wearing rule that we all hate, but because we followed it, we have not had the school spread that people have feared. The other thing that's important to mention, and it was a question that Julie asked the other day, which is a really good question, I should say also, is that people who have been appropriately vaccinated also will not have to quarantine. But that's dependent on which shot you got, you know, how many shots you got with that shot. Are you past the waiting period for the immunity? And so just to get that out there too, hopefully people are getting their shots. And that also helps limit the number of people that are required to quarantine.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. So next up we have just the establishing the next meeting that we have, which will be Monday, May 24, 2021 at 6 p.m., which will be prior to town meeting. So town meeting for everyone will be Monday, May 24th, most likely 7 p.m. And then on Tuesday, May 25th, 2021 will be our regularly monthly meeting. Also for additional dates to remember, on Wednesday, April 28th, there is a music parents meeting in the auditorium at 6:30. The Abington High School Drama Club has a production of Working a Musical on April 29th and 30th. This can be streamed from home, but it has to be watched at the time the musical is happening. So tickets are available online, and I'm sure that there is probably announcement on our website and through Constant Contact. Yes, great. And then on Thursday, May 13th is the junior class auction on Abington High School lawn at 4 p.m. until 7 p.m. Wednesday, May 19th is our in-service early release day. On Monday, May 24th is the annual town meeting at 7 p.m. And Tuesday, May 25th is our school committee meeting at 7 p.m. All right. Would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn?
Wendy, can I just ask
Yes.
something real quick? So
Of course.
just for anybody listening, Wednesday, May 19th is an actual half day of school. Your kids will be out of school a half day, 3 hours after they start for the first time this year. So that's just a reminder.
Good point.
Valid point.
Thank
And then, Wendy, the meetings on the 24th and 25th, remote, in person.
TBD.
We'll probably know when we get a little bit closer. Peter, I'm not sure.
So those are prior to our town meeting. So those
Yep.
will be in person. So what the committee does is it meets just prior to town.
Last year, I think we met online.
I'm hoping this year is going to be in person. Fingers crossed, because then we're going to the town meeting. But you're right. We'll confirm that later, Wendy. And then the 25th, I'd love to do in person if we can. I guess that's another TBD. Also, I know I need, and I can email you guys later. We don't want to do it. We don't want to take our calendars out on cable. But Julie and Danielle, to ask you about a business finance subcommittee meeting. And then we may also be asking the committee if additional to these two meetings, we could have a meeting after our business and finance subcommittee meeting to talk about budget. But Felicia and I'll get back to you guys on that.
That's a lot.
Wow. Things are moving pretty fast.
Right. Well, thank you. Anyone else? All right. So I would like to ask for a motion to adjourn. Would anyone like to make that? I'll make the motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
I will second it.
Excellent. All in favor?
Bye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone. Have a
Thank you.
great night. See you next time.